Welcome to the Hockey Writers Inc., the show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. Relax, the keyboard is off and the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Join your host, Lance Green, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, and your co-host, Ron, SteelFlyers, as we bring you all the latest on the Philadelphia Flyers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc. with your host, Lance Green.
All right, guys. Some interesting turns of events have happened coming
Slightly.
out of Philly, right?
Yeah, man.
A new head coach, a familiar face in that sense, but a new head coach. So we're here to talk about that.
Exactly. Exactly. So, how about this, folks? If you like what we do, please hit the like and subscribe, man. We'd really appreciate that. That really helps us out. How about this, folks? Episode 194. Rick Tocchet, the new head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. That's right, folks. Here we go. Are you ready? Because at least they pick somebody sooner rather than later, right? And it may not have necessarily been the guy that we would have wanted,
Mhm.
but initial reaction, initial thoughts. What do you think, man?
So yeah, teams were snatching up coaches, right? They had a lot of vacancies. A couple of were beginning to be filled. Um, Rick Tockett's name became available, and he's always been partial to Philadelphia, and
Right.
Philadelphia has always loved him. I mean, he's a fan favorite when he was here. He embodies what it is to be a Philadelphia Flyer, I think.
Yeah, all day long.
Um, you know, None of that is in, question here. But due to the nepotism that the Flyers have and
I knew
in
that was
past,
coming.
you know what I mean? It is running rampant for years now. Even with the hires of Danny Briere and Keith Jones, but they seem to be doing a pretty good job. But I think the team is starting to bring in the right people. Obviously, as we talked in past shows, and I've written articles about leading up to this, John Tortorella firing. Um, I've always kind of said that, the team is moving in a younger, faster pace. And I thought a guy like Todd Nelson, the Hershey Bears coach, was going to be an ace in the hole for the Flyers to land. Obviously, the Washington Capitals were doing pretty darn good, and we're going to be probably not replacing their head coach with, a guy like Todd Nelson coming up from their junior organization in the AHL.
Right.
But he would have been great and still might be great for some team. But as we know, they just beat the Phantoms and are moving on in the AHL playoffs. So they are well on their way to a third consecutive AHL championship. Still have some hurdles to go in that regard. So with pieces starting to move, the Flyers went ahead and bit the bullet and brought in Rick Tocchet. You know, at first I wasn't sold on the idea, but still, as I just told you, I've been working on an article, kind of laying the foundation why it might not be initially as bad as we thought. You know, the guy is a Jack Adams Award winner, not this past season, but the season before when his team was generally healthy. They finished with 109 points. And we're first place in the Pacific Division. Yeah, of course, last season, Elias Peterson went down. their big name guy, and they kind of fell in the standings a little bit. But um, with each new coach that comes in, I think the Flyers need to really, this one more so than John Tortorella and some of the other ones. They need to set him up to not fail, but succeed in that sense, and really bring in some players, some prospects that are geared towards his kind of systems and games. And this is a perfect time with this many draft picks, with this much cap space. Um, Man, if we're gonna do it, let's do it right and kind of set him up to succeed in my mind.
We talked about this when John Tortorella was brought in. We wanted them to rip off the Band-Aid and just do it, and they didn't.
Right,
You know what I
right.
mean? They brought in now. Okay, I understand that wasn't necessarily part of. So I'm having a hard time with this, man. Okay,
I
because
get it. I
you
get it.
you, you fired John Tortorella, and I understand why he was fired. Okay,
Hmm.
I do. All right, and I gotta say, deservingly so. Okay,
Yeah, I mean
if
he
I
wears
did
out
that
his
kind of stuff,
welcome pretty
yeah,
quickly. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
If I did that kind of stuff in my job, I definitely would have gotten fired. Okay,
Right,
right?
right.
Okay. So with that being said, bringing in a guy like Rick Tocchet, he's got more of the type of game that we're seeing Philadelphia play, the dump and chase. Okay, get used to it, man, because here it comes. Right, this is what Rick Tocchet's all about. But are you gonna have the guys to win the races and win the battles? If you are, then this system works just great. And you're getting speedy guys like Lachenko probably going to be able to come in. Yeah, Mitchkov is not no slouch neither. You know what I'm saying? Kate's pretty fast. Most of the guys on the team are pretty fast because they're young, right? Okay, but talk to me in 2 or 3 years when these guys are a little bit more mature now, and there's a couple more maybe stars on the team or a couple more people, you know, on the team that have made it through draft or however. Talk to me in a couple years and see how this dump and chase is going to work. Uh,
Yeah.
you and I
Uh,
are not fans of this
no,
system. And this was the
no.
reason why we didn't want this coach to come here
Yeah.
for that reason. But hey,
Here he
man,
is.
here he
Here he
is. So
is.
it is
Right.
what it
So
is.
so let's make the best of this situation is what I'm
Exactly.
saying here,
Set him
because
up like you just said.
I am an old school goaltender. I see no reason, if you have control of the puck, to willingly throw it away just to make a line change and get new skates out on the ice, and try to get it back. I don't like it, but I do like the fact that Tocchet encourages players to finish their checks,
Oh yeah.
to play that traditional old school grinded out hockey, that he rewards guys, like some guys in my article that I'm going to
Hmm.
suggest bringing in to the
Yeah.
fold or attempt to, and
Yeah.
in a sense of giving guys, if they're going to give 110%, then he's going to give them a chance to play. And I like that, being that there's the youth, and John Tortorella was never one to play youth, and we saw that he liked to punish them when they made a mistake. Guys that young are gonna make a mistake,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's not the same kind of, his coaching style is not the same as it would benefit older guys like me that would kind of curse them under their breath and go out
Yeah.
there and really show them what they can do. But this is a younger generation, it's a different generation. I think Tortorello did what he was supposed to do, in a sense where he helped the Flyers kind of tear apart and pick out the bad pieces,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
black sheep in the locker room that kind of were cancers, if you will,
Yeah. I'll go with that.
and it's now torn apart. It's torn down. now it's time for the rebuild portion, and with the Mishkovs and some of the pieces that are coming in that we've seen succeed at an early chance here with the Phantoms. Once
Yeah.
they graduated, um, from college and stepped up, or once they came up from juniors and their season was done, you're seeing that success, and it would be nice to maybe not rush some of those players into it. And I think Tortorella's systems. I'm sorry, Tocchet's now system can kind of benefit that, and also I'm optimistic. Steel,
Yeah.
he, like I said, he's not my guy.
Yeah.
Either not even my first choice or two in that sense. But I am hopeful. I do wish and will this team to win. I want to see a Stanley Cup banner in my lifetime. You see all this gray hair. I've yet to see one. Um,
And he's younger than
so
me.
Right, right. So let's let's give this guy a chance, but let's set him up. And I went into great detail and put out how how the management necessarily can do it in a sense of certain players in the draft, maybe not the ones that coincide with what Briere wants to do right away, because I think there's bigger holes than just down the middle of the center of the ice, Steel.
Yeah, I know.
And
Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of holes.
and there's a lot of holes, right? And there's some free agents that we could pick up that have played in his system and succeeded, and maybe possibly a guy we could steal away with all of the draft capital that we have to bargain with that could kind of bring a guy in. And Briere's talked about this. He does not want to go through another year or two of growing pains. He wants to start to succeed this season and start winning games. He doesn't want another season where they're going to tank. Not that any team necessarily does, but lose out and try to get another pick. We saw how that went for the Flyers this year, where they got screwed out of the fourth overall pick and they're now picking sixth. That's a whole nother conversation. I'm
Oh
about
yeah.
tired of these teams that just
Continually
just
get.
missed out on making the playoffs, but yet they get to sneak in and steal a teams that is really struggling. Draft pick or future franchise player out of their hands that could have turned their franchise around. There's no way a team like the Islanders should have jumped up that many spots, or the Utah Hockey Club or
Yeah.
Mammoth, whatever they're going to be called now, should be able to jump up 9 spots and take that first pick away. Do I think there should still be a lottery? Yes, but maybe for the 5 worst teams. You know what I'm saying? The 5 worst teams, throw those numbers into a hat and draw one of them out, and then wherever they finish in concession after that,
Right.
um,
All right.
go back to that. I don't see why a
I'm
13th worst team in the
I'm with
league
you.
deserves to get the first pick.
And this is twice now. It's happened in less than 7 years because it
I mean,
happened
the
with the New
Flyers,
York
the
Rangers.
Flyers lucked out and got to pick Nolan Patrick, but we see
Yeah, but
how well that worked out for us.
yeah, but
When we
what I'm
were able to
saying is
jump up that many. Yeah,
when the Rangers did the same thing during the
sure.
COVID year and they were in the playoffs and then they got the number one pick with Lafreniere and whatever, whatever. All right, okay. So now that we know that who the coach is going to be, just like we said, a Jack Adams award-winning coach in 2024. He came into Vancouver, took over for Bruce Boudreau, and made that team a playoff team. Okay, and just came in there and did it. Now here we have now Rick Tocchet is now the new head coach of the Philadelphia Flyers. The Flyers have three first round draft picks. They have three second round draft picks and a couple of the other, lower end, lower round draft picks. Which guy, if the Flyers stay at six, all right, and we know all the holes that they have, okay, who is the Rick Tocchet guy now in the draft that you would be looking at, that you would be targeting? I mean, as far as I'm concerned, you're still trying to look at a center.
Well, it's tough. It's tough because, yes, Michael Misha or James Haggins would have been perfect if we got one of those in the top 4 selections, right? But diving deeper into it, who's left after? That is a big gap between those 4 best players and the middle of the road there. And
Okay.
especially at the center position. Let me go over Anton Frondell, a Swedish-born player, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Had some success. He's supposed to be in the top 10 there. It could be a pick for the Flyers. He's had multiple knee surgeries, Steele. I'm not
Yeah.
willing to put all my eggs in that basket, okay? A guy that we
Already.
interviewed, amazing young player, Roger McQueen, right? He had spine issues, a spinal injury that let him only play 17 games. He seemed to come back strong at the end, but man, a kid that's 6'6", 6'5", and has back issues already. I don't know if I want to go down that road. And I think that the Flyers fan base would kind of come with, burning pitchforks and stuff for Briere if it turned out to be this guy's another injury-prone player that they pick at that spot. So,
Okay.
um, who's left? Caleb Dayonne? He seems like a pretty good player, but me and you were
Question mark.
sitting up with his older brother Elliot in the press box for the playoffs
Yeah.
because he came from the Q, a league that is so
He did play in the second
up
round.
up
Uh
before that. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
well, yeah, after that.
Yeah, and he did
He
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 did
got
play
in there a
really
bit.
well. He did play really well there in the second round of the Phantoms playoffs against Hershey Bears. He
Yeah,
he
but is he living? He's 23. Is he living up to that? What they thought he would be? Because a season or two ago, he looked like he was going to make the Flyers roster, opening night roster.
right, and I think he's had a setback.
In an extended way. He's had quite a
Yeah.
bit of a step back. Now, I know there are 2 different players, and Dayonne, has scored 35 goals and 84 points this year.
Caleb,
But
that is.
Caleb, yep,
Yeah.
Caleb, his younger brother that's looking to be drafted here. I'm still not sold. I'm still not sold that Q mentality where they
Yeah.
don't fight. This is
Yeah.
the Metropolitan Division. This is full of rivalry games every single night. These
you,
teams hate each other.
you know,
Yeah, and
you
Caleb can
need to be able
definitely
to
take
drop
better
gloves.
care of himself. Yeah, you need to be able to drop gloves. They can't do that there. If they so much as hit anybody harder than they think they should, they're suspending players up there. It's just a non-physical league, and they're trying to make it just all goal scoring and nice and friendly league. And I'm not for it.
No.
That's not my kind of hockey. That's not Rick's kind of hockey either. So should they go with a center like Jake O'Brien? That's kind of what I'm trying to dive into in my mock draft. There's also Carter Bear. There's also Brady
Which is another
Martin.
guy.
But
Carter Bear's another guy that we talked to, right?
sure,
Which
sure,
that was the other name I was going to throw at you,
right.
right?
But stay with me here, Steele. A guy who was maybe one of the prospects that we interviewed that you
Oh,
cannot just
yeah, yeah.
go without here. And in that sense, for me, it was defenseman Kayshawn Aitchison. Okay,
That's who I was
this
going to say.
guy,
All
this
right.
guy is a shutdown defenseman.
Word.
Steel,
Yeah.
shutdown defenseman. Every night he was playing Michael Misha, Porter
Porter
Martone.
Martone. Yep.
Okay, at top 5 picks, right? And he shut them down. He didn't
Coach would
shut them
go to
down. He
him.
totally kept them off of the score sheet. Like Steele was just about to say, he would go. The coach would go to him and be like, "Hey, that's your guy. As soon as he steps on the ice, you jump over the boards. You hang with him. I don't care if he's on the other side of the ice beside the play. You stick on him and you don't let him get on the scoreboard." And that's what he did. Steele,
Yeah.
a true
Yeah.
shutdown defenseman.
Yeah. I'm
And
with you.
Steele,
All right. I like it.
he not only did he was he a shutdown defenseman,
Oh,
okay,
he
but
he could skate.
he led the team in points
Yeah.
and scoring.
Yeah. Hey, how about
He had
that?
26 goals, Steele, for a defenseman. He led the team in scoring
I like
and
where you're
points.
going. I like where you're going with this, right? Because
59 points, right? Barry
yeah,
Colts led the team in scoring and points. 6'1", 198 pounds. All right.
just what
And
they need.
just what they need. Because if you want to look at numbers, the league's worst save percentage, 8.79 or 0.879, belonged to the Flyers.
Yeah,
Okay, this
yeah.
year the league's worst save percentage. They were bottom dwellers in the goals against average too, Steele. They let in 3.45 goals a game
What defense?
collectively. What defense, right? What defense? Give me some defense. Give me some
Hello.
defense here. All right?
I like it.
And
No, no, no. I
and
like
another
it.
name.
Go
Another
for it.
name, Steele.
Go for it.
Carter Amico in the second.
Yeah. All right.
Six
Okay.
foot five, 240. I mean, you
Bring it.
I,
We
I
need
mean,
it.
I see Chris Pronger. I mean,
Yeah.
not maybe necessarily offensively, but he does have offense as well. But this kid just wipes kids off the map. They're stumbling back to the
I
bench,
know. I know.
asking what was the plate number of that truck that just hit him. Okay, defense, defense, defense. Let's build from the net
Okay, so
out.
I'm glad you said that, Lance, because this is exactly why I'm glad you said that because this is where I was going to go. I love the where you're going with the defenseman, and Aitchison is definitely a Rick Tocchet guy.
Yes.
Okay, right, all day long, right? Because that was what I asked you. What guy in the draft is a Rick Tocchet guy, right?
Right.
Aitchison is one of those guys. Okay, now
I believe Carter Amico is
I
too.
agree too. I agree too. Let's talk about what
Amico.
you
I
talked
think it's
about,
Amico.
Amico. Let's talk about what you said before. You're the old goaltender, and I think that's kind of where the Flyers need to put more focus on, more so than what they had. Right? They probably could have put. Um, I know they've got Alexei. I know they've got Ivan. I know they've got a list of guys, Bjornson and all that other stuff, and all the other guys. But I would not have a problem at all with Aaliyah Nuenswander being selected as a goaltender or Ravensgarden as selected as a goaltender for the Philadelphia Flyers in one of those three first round draft. If they stay where they are, I would
Mhm.
not have a problem if they selected one of those kids as a goalie because doing exactly what you're talking about, Lance, those goaltenders right there have potential to be what the Flyers need them to be. Somebody that can come in and play 40, 50 games a season, take care of business, have some shutouts, right? Win more than they lose, have a good save percentage and good goals against average, and be that goaltender. Because that's what Philadelphia needs, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep. I
Harrison
mean,
is
that's
not the guy. He is not the guy. We've seen that now 2 years in a row. He cannot handle the main load as being a starting goaltender and be
no, he's a
expected to
tandem
play.
goaltender for sure. Yeah, he's a tandem goaltender for sure.
Okay.
And yep, and Joshua Ravensbergen, who we interviewed, as well as Elijah, who Steele mentioned, would both be great picks. Joshua would be there probably in the first, at the tail end of the first. He's being projected at.
That's what I'm thinking.
Um, Yep, yep. With the Flyers having the Avalanche pick or the
Oilers.
Oilers pick,
Yeah.
one of those picks could bring you a goaltender too. So you're starting to build from the net out. Okay, and defense and goaltending. That's what wins championships repeatedly. You look at your Marc Andre Fleury. You look at your Martin Brodeur. You look at your Patrick Waugh, Dominic Hasek, guys that are true
Well,
number
you don't
one
even have to
goaltenders
go
and
that you don't even have to go that far
that
back,
far
man. You
back.
know what I
No, you
mean?
don't. You
Yeah, you
don't. You
don't.
don't. But I was thinking in terms of multiple championships. I want to win multiple, not just
Vasilevsky,
one. Yep,
Vasilevsky,
Vasilevsky for sure.
right? I mean, what that guy is. Not only is he a Vezina winning goaltender, but he's won
Yeah,
multiple championships now. Okay, and if you get a guy in there like that, what? What are you waiting for? Hello,
yep,
draft.
yep.
These guys are there available in the draft. All right.
Yeah, there is some other good ones too, goaltending wise, that you can get later on in the draft, like Alexei Medvedev from the London Knights. I like him. Um, you know, there's quite a few that we talked about before, and there's some other guys that are probably 19 that got skipped over last draft that really
Could
excelled this
probably.
year as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I'm with you.
That we could grab up. And I think that you keep stocking that you can never have too many goaltenders. You can never
Agreed.
have too many defensemen.
Nope.
You can have too many wingers. You can have too many centers,
Clearly. Hmm.
and centers that are the same exact player like we have. Defense first
Yeah.
players,
Right.
and we got rid of one in Scott Lawton. You have Noah Cates. You have Coots. You know
Okay.
Paling. They're all the
Yeah.
same player. I
I
want a
got you.
scoring center if we're going to
Yeah.
get one, and I think we got gypped out on the ones that are definitely solid with that number six, getting that number six pick. So,
Well,
man, he took Jet Lachenko last year. Um,
I think he's going to
you
be
know,
a. He's. I think he's going
I,
to make the team this year. He
I
plays
don't, I don't
really
know.
well
I
in.
don't know.
I got to watch him
I don't
very
want to rush
briefly.
him. I don't want to rush him.
I don't either,
He's
but
got
I don't think he really. I mean, if he plays another year in juniors, okay, and comes in
no.
at the. But
I don't
I
want to play
really
juniors.
don't.
I want to play with Phantoms.
Okay, but I
I don't know.
really. I saw him playing the Phantoms. He did really well. He played with Richard. Richard was able to keep up with him as far as
Yeah.
speed wise, and those two were a good line as far as that was concerned. And they had Garrett Wilson on the other side, right? And then they switched it up. Ian Aparicio switched it up, and he had the true prospect line where he had uh, Lachenko and Bunk or a Bump and oh, I can't remember who the other kid was, but he had those two guys on the line as well too. So he switched him up a little bit. So I'm seeing I saw some good things from Lachenko. I saw some good things from Bump during the playoffs, and that was a great experience for them to play in those situations. I think they're going to be on the cusp of making the team next year. I just feel that because of the speed of Lachenko, because of them needing another player that can play alongside with Mitchkov. You know what I'm saying? If they don't draft
Well,
somebody, but
no, the need's there for sure. The need's
yeah,
there. It was there last year, and that's why Lachenko got a look in preseason because he can do certain things very,
yeah,
very well. He
yeah,
is an excellent passer. He
yeah.
is an amazing skater with great speed.
Yeah.
But I think the maturity level is not quite there
Agreed. No,
yet
no,
to
I
be an
agree.
NHL player. You saw multiple penalties
Penalties.
during his junior career. He got suspended a time or two, I believe, in juniors, and with not necessarily suspended with the Phantoms, but multiple penalties that he didn't necessarily need to take because he's
Oh,
playing to trying to
right.
trying to look good in the eyes of the organization and prove his worth. And I think he needs to curtail that a little bit. You can play on edge, but you got to play discipline as well. So I think with him playing a full season, possibly at
That would work.
Lehigh, or I don't know the parameters on how old he is versus if he has to go back to juniors necessarily.
I think he would be able to
Um,
play with Lehigh.
yeah, I think he's aged out. I'm not. I would have to look it up honestly. I don't know
Okay.
where he'll be at the start of the season without looking it
Okay.
up and
Okay.
taking time away from the show. So I think he would be best fit at Lehigh, but you got all summer. And if he really wants to work at his craft and stay around here, there's plenty of guys who we saw at the games, with plenty of Stanley Cup rings on their hand that are going to be ready and willing to work with these guys this summer and help out, turn them in to be better and better prospects for this team. So.
I agree. I agree. Like you, Lance, I think that we here at Hockey Writers Inc. and I think we're embracing the new coach. We've expressed our feelings. We expressed why we had those reservations of why we are bringing in this coach, this particular type of coach, because of the system that he plays and things of that nature. I don't have a problem with the guy really. I mean, he was one of my favorite Flyers when he played. I mean, he embodies what it really means to be a Flyer. But my problem is that all those things are all fine and great. But what happens when the rubber hits the road or the meat hits the bone? You know what I mean? And he starts losing. Then what? He's not going to be the favorite son anymore. How's he going to handle things? And I'm just I'm with you, Lance. I want to see if you're going to bring this guy in here like this. Look, you got John LeClaire, you got Patrick Sharp, you got Keith Jones, you got Danny Briere. Now you got Rick Tocchet,
W- Wayne
right?
Simmons is
Wayne
in the fold.
Simmons.
Yeah.
How many more other guys do you need to bring in that used to be on the team to try to help this team get forward? You know what I'm saying? That's all fine and great, but let me see the W's. Let me see the championships. Let me see the banners hanging from the rafters. Okay? Because until then, you haven't proven nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head. I like the group that they did bring in.
I'm liking it,
Teams
yeah, but
teams do this, right? They do this. It's not just some
right.
um, ECHL player, washout player that becomes a coach for every position. You got some youth, and you want to see those star players that still want to be a part of the game
Yeah,
come in and help your franchise.
yeah,
But at what point does it kind of start to hinder things when you have somebody like Rick Tocchet now,
yeah.
who is so held so high in this, you know, region as being a prodigal son of,
I
the
mean,
Flyers and
you see
and
all the
helped them
social
for so
media,
long.
right? You
Yeah,
see all the social media. Oh, welcome back home. Welcome back home. All big hugs and all that.
I
Okay,
mean,
well,
I
lose
I,
some
I
games.
believe
Let me
him.
see how much the hugs are coming.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I believe Rick when he says like he feels like this is home, and it
Okay.
was for so long for him, 11
Yep.
seasons out of
Two stints.
18,
Yep. Two
two
stints.
different stints, right?
Yep.
So I mean, I can see why he says that, and you can see that when he's came back and coached, the retired players games and stuff like that.
The alumni games.
That
Yeah.
the alumni games that they put on. But does is that going to earn him an extended stay when other coaches may have been, kicked to the curb already because he is Rick Tocchet and he is Philadelphia's Flyer hockey. You know what I mean?
Yep. I'm with you.
So
We're
so
gonna see.
on one hand, I'm excited because of the
Yep.
player he was, and
Yep.
hopefully he will get these young kids playing that brand of hockey that we all
I'd be
grew
okay
up
with
and
that.
loved
I
watching.
I'd be okay with
And
that.
but at the same time, I hope he doesn't get an extended stay when others would have been kicked to the curb already just because of who he is. So
uh,
hopefully he signed a big contract
five
for a
years.
lot of years, 5 year
5 years.
contract. That
5.25 million.
that's a lot, right? That's a lot. So we'll see. But
Yeah.
hey, he did win a Jack Adams Award a heck of a lot, a heck of a lot sooner or less time away than John Tortorella did some 20 years ago when I was still in high
Yeah.
school. So
Right. Okay.
when he last won his last Jack Adams Award. So um, I'm okay with it. Let's see where it goes.
Rock and
I'm
roll.
ready. I'm ready for uh, the draft and free agency and all that stuff that is to come after this season.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
enjoying watching playoff hockey, but I'm about tired of not being in it as a Flyer fan. You know what I mean? And watching other teams play in it. So
No
hopefully
skin
Rick
in the
can come
game.
in. Right, right. So hopefully Rick can come in and whip these
Change that.
boys into and shape and turn around the Flyers, much like he turned around the Canucks organization.
I'll tell you what, Lance. Like I said, I'm hopefully optimistic. That's
There you
about the
go.
best way I can put it, right? We're gonna embrace this. We're gonna ride this. We're gonna see how it goes. You know what I mean? Why not? I mean, he comes with some pretty good pedigree. He comes with, I mean, his winning percentage isn't exactly the greatest on the planet, but and he doesn't exactly have the most the best system as far as we're concerned, as far as how he plays. But we like his brand of hockey, how he played. So if he coaches like that, we're going to find out. And we're gonna find out, man, when games start to fall, and we start to see how things are gonna go, how he's going to be the favorite son after we lose 5 or 6 games in a row or whatever the case is, right? Because that's not going to stand. This fan base, I think, is now you got an award-winning coach, you got a boatload of draft picks in the first and second round, right? Over the next couple of drafts,
You tore this team apart.
you tore this team
So
apart. You got nowhere to go but up. So guess what? The expectations are going to be a little bit higher, I think, moving forward now, especially with what's going on now. Okay, you brought in a much sought after coach, and let's see, set him up for success. Draft him some players that he'll be able to use sooner rather than later. You know what I mean? So Lance, we can't wait for your next article to come out, man. I'm biting at the bullet here for that. And we also can't wait for your mock draft. Ooh, yeah,
yeah,
baby.
I had started on it, but it might change a little bit knowing now who the head coach is. So
Right.
I'm glad that they did bring in somebody before the
Sooner.
draft
Me
to
too.
be able to kind of do that rather than draft and then hire somebody you know after the
After the
fact
fact,
so
yeah.
that he doesn't have any say in it.
Yeah,
So
you know.
yeah, I think that about wraps it up here, man. I'm excited.
Me too.
Um,
Me
you
too.
know, hopefully
Can't wait.
optimistic
Can't
is
wait.
the
Yeah.
is the term, yeah.
Right? Hopefully optimistic, right? And we got nowhere to go but up, right? I
Right,
mean, we've
right.
already hit the rock bottom, right? So we got nowhere to go but up. Um, would like to say big props and thanks to Jake and the boys at Lowercase Blues for the intro music. Man, I got to tell you, you guys got to go on over to lowercaseblues.net. Check them out. They got all their tour dates out there. They got some swag out there. They also got a new album out there, too, to check that out. So hop on over to lowercaseblues.net. Check them out. Also, big props and thanks to you, Lance, for all you do, man. I know it's been a little minute since we dropped the show, but I got to tell you, man, we had to jump on here with the Rick Tocchet news and bring you the latest and greatest. And there's no off season for the Hockey Writers Inc. We'll be back.
Yeah, we'll definitely be here, and we do have some new prospect watch shows in the works.
Yeah, baby.
I was able to get a couple of players lined up, so be
That's
looking
why
for
he's the
new
man.
episodes of that as well.
That's why he's the man. Be sure to hop on over to steelflyers.com and check out all the latest and greatest Lance's articles and all the latest and greatest shows. We just dropped a Phantoms coverage show. We did a couple of Phantom centric shows there to cover the playoffs, where the Steel Flyers was in attendance as media. So be sure to check some of that stuff out too, and also check out some of the great photos that yours truly is doing. Anyway, thank you all very much for hopping on and checking us out. Please hit the like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate that. I'm your co host, Ron Steel Flyers, and we will catch you all in the next episode of the Hockey Writers Inc.